So Apple updated the MacBook Pro just a few short months ago by giving it the M5 Pro chip back in March, but it looks like an even bigger and more drastic redesign is coming to the MacBook Pro lineup. I mean, we're talking the first ever OLED display on a Mac, it possibly being touchscreen, the dynamic island replacing that ugly notch that's been in the MacBook Pros, and an even thinner overall design. But there seems to be a confusing twist here that we definitely gotta talk about, so let's break down everything we know about the future of the MacBook Pro that's coming out later this year, and will it be a MacBook Pro or will it be a MacBook Ultra? Let's break it down. But now before we continue, if you guys do enjoy videos like this one where we talk all things Apple, consider subscribing to the channel and help us get to 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. So let's first get into the display that's coming to the new MacBook Pros, because it's being reported that Apple is going to be switching from Mini LED over to OLED in this new MacBook Pro lineup, and the OLED does have its advantages over Mini LED. Mini LED was fantastic, and if you guys remember, the iPad Pro was the first one to show off what Mini LED can do with local dimming zones and things like that, but then the iPad was also the first one to get the tandem OLED display going from Mini LED to OLED, and I think that's what's happening here with the MacBook Pro. OLED definitely has its advantages over Mini LED. For example, you can control each individual pixel versus just a dimming zone, which is what Mini LED had. So from a battery standpoint, this will help out because you can completely turn off some pixels depending on what you're watching. But then also from a contrast ratio standpoint, and also seeing the blackest of blacks, because you can turn off that pixel, you'll be getting a much richer black color versus a dimming zone that'll still have some kind of backlight to it that's going to be more of a white gray versus a true black color. And then the construction and the overall physics of OLED compared to Mini LED means that the display can actually be thinner, which means, again, the actual chassis of the MacBook Pro can be shrunken, or they can add more battery life because there's going to be more room. But there are two main concerns with this OLED. The first one being, will they create the same type of OLED that they put on the iPad Pro? For example, are they using the tandem OLED? Because the main reason they went with tandem OLED on the iPad Pro was for brightness purposes. OLED by default is a dimmer type of screen technology compared to an LED, so that's why Apple went with a tandem OLED to kind of give you double the brightness of an OLED display. So let's see if Apple's bringing that same tech over to the MacBook Pro. But then also the fear is the increase in price. OLED tech is more expensive than LED tech, even if it is micro LED, so that is something to take a look at. The next big thing to notice about this new display is that it's going to be a touchscreen display. Now, for years, if not decades, Apple has argued that a touchscreen display does not belong on a laptop, and that's why iPads and tablets exist, but it looks like they're kind of changing it a little bit because if you've noticed over the last couple of years, all the operating systems are coming to a convergence, right? They are looking the same, they use the same app icons, a lot of the gestures are exactly the same, especially across iOS, iPadOS, and macOS. If you're just looking at the display and you don't have a keyboard or a mouse or any other peripheral around you, if you're just looking at the display, they look pretty much identical at this point, especially iPadOS and macOS. It's not until you start to actually interact with the software that you notice, of course, all the differences between the two. So I think Apple is doing that on purpose because things are now happening where it's not going to be about the operating system, it's going to be about the type of hardware that's using that operating system. So that is why I think touchscreen will be coming to this new MacBook Pro. And a great insight into that is what they did with iPadOS 26. When Apple introduced the new windowing mode in iPadOS 26, you saw how you navigated those kind of traffic light controls in terms of window management. They were the same window management controls that you get on Mac, but they're kind of touch screenified by giving you larger touch targets, being able to expand a little bit larger to account for the larger finger press point versus the precision of a point and click mouse. So there's a lot of UI elements happening at the same time that I think is going to transition over to macOS that allows the Mac to be a much more fluid touchscreen experience. Because yes, we've had the 2-in-1 laptops in the world for a long time. Microsoft has had them. Lenovo's been using them. I mean, pretty much everybody on the Windows side has had some sort of touchscreen laptop, but it's never been optimized for touch. It's been optimized for it being a computer that just happened to have a touchscreen. And I think Apple is going to be doing it the correct way by making it feel like it's going to work great in both worlds without any compromises. And it looks like finally Apple is getting rid of that super ugly notch. Now, I remember when Apple introduced the notch, I believe it was with the M2 MacBook Air, because they wanted to get the bezels a little bit smaller without changing too much of the footprint, but they needed a way to hide that camera inside the MacBook Air, so they went with the notch. Now, I've hated the notch ever since it came out. I think the design language is just not there. It's not a great design language, but it looks like Dynamic Island will be coming over, and it should act very similar to the Dynamic Island that we see on the current iPhones, where you can see live activities, timers, music playback, airdrop transfers, file exports. I mean, you can just imagine the type of UI elements that will be added into this Dynamic Island. Now, it remains yet to be seen if this is going to be for Face ID or if they're going to keep Touch ID and just use this kind of like a hole punch cutout or something like that for the webcam. But let's see exactly what they do. At least visually, hopefully we'll be seeing a dynamic island, and ideally with Face ID, because I prefer Face ID, and they should be adding that. I don't know why they wouldn't add that now that it basically is on all the devices besides a few iPads. It would be great to see Face ID on these new Macs. And then it's going to be the form factor and the overall thinness of this new MacBook Pro. Now, we all remember what happened back in 2016 and how Apple then kind of took everything back in 2021. Because in 2016, Apple made the MacBook Pro ultra thin, but they introduced a butterfly keyboard, which was a complete mess. It was the worst keyboard. It was super mushy. I mean, to the point where there was lawsuits and free repairs that were happening because they were just so tough and so bad and they kept breaking on people. And then also with that MacBook Pro, Apple removed all the ports besides USB-C and Thunderbolt in a time where people weren't quite ready for it. So then in 2021, they brought everything back. They made the MacBook thicker. They changed the keyboard back to the way that it was supposed to be with the chiclet style keyboard. They added HDMI and SD cards and MagSafe back to the MacBook Pro. So now it looks like Apple's going to slowly walk it back down to the thinness form factor. But I think this time they've learned from their mistakes. They're going to keep the same keyboard. They're going to keep the same I/O. They're just going to be able to make it thinner because those M chips are so efficient. The battery doesn't need to be as big. And like we mentioned, OLED will allow it to be even thinner because it requires less in order to have the actual display physically there. So again, I just hope Apple doesn't make this thing thin at all costs. Like, don't remove any of the ports. Make sure the ports stay the same. You know, I can do without the MagSafe. I'll be honest. I have never used MagSafe even when it came back. Whenever I buy one of these laptops, it stays curled up and untouched in the box itself because I would just rather plug in USB-C and I'm usually connected to a monitor or whatever the case may be. So I'm okay if they remove MagSafe, but do not remove HDMI and do not remove the SD card slot because people will not buy this thing if that's the case. But now the big twist here, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Apple kind of shapes this for us or markets this towards us. It was originally intended that the new MacBook Pros would get the M6 chips or the M6 Pro or M6 Max or maybe even the M7 chip, but it looks like it's going to be using the same M5 Pro and M5 Max chip that's currently in the MacBook Pros. So that begs the question, right? This is going to be the interesting part about how Apple's going to shape this from a category standpoint on the MacBook Pro front. Will this be just another MacBook Pro in the lineup that's more expensive? Maybe they name it as like M5 Pro, MacBook Pro with touchscreen, right? Maybe that's how they categorize it. Or will this be a whole new category of MacBook? So it's a MacBook Ultra with the M5 Pro or the M5 Max, which will then allow them to then price this completely differently to how they price the current M5 MacBook Pros in that entire lineup. So that's what it looks like it's going to happen. It's going to be the same chipset as what we currently have in the regular MacBook Pros. It's just a matter of all the new hardware. So it's going to be the new redesign, it's going to be the new touchscreen, it's going to be the new OLED panel, it's going to be the new dynamic island, maybe some other things that they throw in there for efficiency's sake, but for the most part, this is going to be an ultra high-end MacBook, and I personally think it's going to be a MacBook Ultra, because it's going to have the same internal spec for the most part. Maybe they add a little bit more RAM, maybe they add a little bit more storage options, but it's going to be the same internal chip that you see in the M5 Pro, but just in a different kind of redesign, a different package. I'm almost thinking about this as like the iPad Air versus iPad Pro, where even though they're not the same exact chipsets, you have the M4 iPad Air and the M5 iPad Pro, you're not really paying for each one of them from a power standpoint. You're paying for the hardware differences between the two, right? You're paying for the tandem OLED, you're paying for the thin form factor, and we've all known that the iPad is kind of Apple's testing ground. The iPad Pro has always been the guinea pig to see what they end up doing with the rest of the iPad lineup, and then that usually then trickles in to the MacBooks and the MacBook Pro lineup. And that's kind of been the history of the iPad ever since 2010 when it was first released. They use it as a testing ground to see what works and what sticks, and then whatever works, they move on to their more kind of tried and true products, which is the MacBook lineup. So now the question here is, how much more is this laptop going to be, right? Because right now I believe the regular M5 MacBook starts at $2,000, the M5 Pro starts at $2,499, I believe, or maybe a little bit more depending on the price hikes that just happened. So I can see this MacBook Pro or this MacBook Ultra or this MacBook Pro with touchscreen starting easily at $2,999 or $3,000, if not more than that. So let's see how Apple shapes this. But in terms of release date, it looks like Apple could announce this as early as October of this year. So definitely stay tuned, get subscribed, because once this does get announced, we'll pre-order it and we'll get it in the studio and test it out to see what this MacBook is all about, who this is for. Is this to replace both an iPad as well as a MacBook? And then you also have the iPhone Fold. So now it's like you have an iPhone Fold that's supposed to be your iPhone and a tablet, but then you also have a touchscreen MacBook that's supposed to be your MacBook, but also a tablet. So now you have two devices that do a lot of the same thing, but also different extremes of the same thing. It's going to be interesting to see how Apple shapes up their product categories moving forward. It'll be an interesting one over the next couple months and years, but that'll do it, everybody. If you guys make it to the end, leave a little dolphin, and if you guys want to watch more videos like this one, check out one of these videos right here. Until next time, I'm Fernando. Peace, everyone.